A racist Karen falsely accuses me of stealing my $2 million yacht just because she couldn't handle the fact that I, a black man, could own it. She ends up calling the police on me and tries to get me arrested. Here's what happened. So I want to talk about something that happened to me a few weeks ago that left me feeling angry, frustrated, and humiliated. You see, I recently bought a small yacht. It set me back close to $2 million. It's something I've always dreamed of owning. I've worked my ass off over the years, and finally, I had the means to make it happen. For some context, I'm a 37-year-old black American entrepreneur, and I've built my business from the ground up. I have a textiles company that turned out to become super successful. I've always been driven and focused, and I believe that if you work hard and stay true to your values, you can achieve anything you want in life. I bought that yacht as a symbol of my success and as a way to spend quality time with my family, who mean the world to me. So, a few weeks ago, I was at the marina, getting the yacht prepped for a trip with my family. I had a yacht technician with me, and we were checking everything to make sure everything was in order. It was a beautiful day, and I was feeling great. But then, out of nowhere, this middle-aged woman approached me. She had a snarky look on her face and started questioning my ownership of the yacht. "Excuse me, but what are you doing here?" she asked. "What am I doing, huh? I'm just getting this yacht ready," I replied, trying to be friendly. "Your yacht?" she said with a smirk. "You can't own this, haha." What makes you think that?" "It's just that your type of people would never be able to own such things. You're not meant to be here, aren't you?" "My type of people? What are you trying to say, madam? I've never met a racist, jealous dickhead like you before," I said, trying to remain calm. "But I don't believe you own this. You're a thief. You're just a thief pretending you're someone you're not. You blackies don't value hard work." At this point, I was fed up. "Ma'am, I don't want to cause any problems, but you need to fucking leave before I call the cops on you," I said, trying to end the conversation. "Oh, I see," she said, her tone getting even nastier. "You think you're better than me just because you have a yacht?" "Well, honey," I replied, trying to keep my cool, "I didn't buy this yacht to prove anything to anyone. I bought it to piss your broke ass off." She huffed and crossed her arms. "Ha! A black man like you owning a yacht worth $2 million? I can't believe that." I sighed and shook my head. "Listen, Karen, I will call the cops on you if you harass me. So, if you'll excuse me, I have some preparations to make." "Preparations?" she sneered. "What kind of preparations does a thief need to make?" I frowned. "What are you talking about, dickhead? You heard me N-word," she spat. "I don't believe for a second that you own this yacht. I bet you stole it." I rolled my eyes. "Excuse me, did you just call me a N-word?" I was getting fed up with her insults and baseless accusations. "Okay, you need to fucking leave. Cops will be on their way if you don't leave this private dock." I turned to walk back to my yacht, but she called out after me. "Don't you walk away from me. I'm going to call the police and have them check into this." I shrugged. "Go ahead. I have nothing to hide, bitch." I continued my preparations, completely unaware that Karen had indeed called the police and made false accusations about me. It wasn't until a few minutes later that I heard sirens approaching the marina. I looked up to see several police cars pulling up and officers with their guns drawn, shouting at me to put my hands up. I raised my hands in the air. "What's going on here?" The police were still shouting at me, demanding that I explain why I was stealing Karen's yacht. I tried to explain that the yacht was mine and that I had all the necessary documentation to prove it, but they were skeptical. They were convinced that I was lying and trying to get away with something illegal. "Sir, please calm down," one of the officers said, holding up a hand. "We've received a call from a woman claiming that this yacht was stolen from her." "That's not true," I exclaimed. "I literally own this yacht. What the fuck?" I reached into my pocket to retrieve my phone, but one of the officers yelled at me. "Don't move! Keep your hands where I can see them." I sighed and put my hands back in the air. "Please, just let me show you proof since you can't believe a black man can own something like this." The officers calmed down and let their guns down after realizing I'm not a threat. They pat me down while I pulled up a documentation on my phone to prove I actually own this yacht, and that Karen is a waffling liar. As they scrolled through the information, their expressions began to soften. They realized that Karen was the one who was lying, and that I was indeed the rightful owner of the yacht. "I'm super sorry for the inconvenience, sir. We had to take these precautions based on the information we were given." "I understand, but what about Karen? There's no way she can get away with endangering my life." The officers confirmed that Karen would indeed be taken into custody, and I had the option to press charges for harassment and false accusations. However, after thinking it over, I decided not to press charges. I didn't want to waste any more time or energy on the situation. Pressing charges require me to go to court, and that honestly ain't worth my time. It would be nice to do, though. As the officers were leading Karen away, she was shouting and cursing at me, claiming I'm a N-word thief. Yeah, that's just a typical day for me as a black rich guy. That's just a joke, by the way. I'll update y'all on the situation on what happened to Karen later because I believe she was jailed. I think I may press charges. Wow, what an absurd and wild situation, OP. I can't even imagine what it must have been like to have that racist Karen accuse you of stealing your own yacht. The nerve of some people, honestly. Like, that's just next-level racism. And to think she had the audacity to call the police on you and try to get you arrested and put your life on the line. It's crazy to think that people like that still exist in this world. It's a shame that you had to go through all that. But I'm glad that you were able to keep your cool and stand your ground in the face of her insults. Me personally, I wouldn't have let those insults slide. I would have done something I probably shouldn't talk about on the internet. What would have you done differently? Let me know down below. Entitled, Mother Steals Gift Package from a Poor, Hardworking Single Mom and Her 6-Year-Old Daughter because it was on my doorstep. This was a couple of years ago and I wasn't exactly involved firsthand, so apologies if some details are vague or inconsistent. So I have this aunt, who I'll call Ella for privacy's sake because God knows this woman doesn't need any more shit, and she isn't technically my real aunt. What she is my uncle's ex-girlfriend, as they only lasted a few months before they broke it off. He doesn't exactly have his life together, to put it mildly, but she was such a nice and cool person that we consider her a part of the family anyway. Ella has a daughter named Maggie, who, at the time this took place, was about 6 years old. Ella was, and still is, a single mother, as, not to get too personal, but Maggie was the result of a rape that occurred while Ella was training to join the military. Upon discovering she was pregnant, she was essentially kicked out, because A, pregnant people can't really do the sort of rigorous training boot camp type of shit this program required, and, less officially, B, it was almost certainly her higher-up at the time who raped her, and they didn't want to deal with the consequences. That second bit is just speculation, as the fucking coward drugged her, so Ella has no idea who it was. All she knew was that suddenly, she was pregnant, unemployed, and had nowhere to go. But Ella is one of the most badass people I've ever met. She took that shitty situation and ran with it, working her ass off at whatever job she could get to get herself an apartment and prepare herself for being a mother. She had no college education, as she couldn't afford it, and had actually joined the military with the hope that it'd help get her through college, but obviously that didn't turn out well. Nevertheless, she gave birth to Maggie a few months later, and has been fighting tooth and nail ever since to give that girl as stable and happy an upbringing as she possibly can. Ella won't say anything about it, but we all know she's had to sacrifice a lot in order to do that. She's gone hungry countless nights so her daughter wouldn't have to. She's worked horrible, demanding jobs on little to no sleep just to earn what little money they'd give her so she could keep the two of them afloat, and she still does everything in her power to make sure she's there for Maggie whenever she needs her. The woman's a goddamn saint is what I'm saying. Naturally, when my family got to know her, we were determined to help out however we could. We're not exactly rich per se, but we are pretty well off. Enough so that we could absolutely spare enough to pay for a couple bills here and there and make sure neither of them starved. Additionally, my parents helped Ella to find a better paying, more stable job, which has made a pretty big improvement on their lifestyle. So I've been told, at least. But they still struggle. And Ella has said more than once that her biggest source of distress is the fact that she feels Maggie hasn't been able to be a real kid, able to play without worry or hunger plaguing her. So we thought we'd try to help that. My mom put together a sort of care package for Maggie's birthday, filled not only with enough food to feed the two of them for several weeks, but also some sweets that Maggie normally never got. And the crown jewel of it all, brand new toys and clothes for Maggie to enjoy. The last time they'd been over, Maggie had been upset because the stuffed unicorn she'd had for a while was falling apart. So my mom bought this very pretty, very cute-looking unicorn plushie to replace it that was just like her last one, as well as a set of those little plastic butterfly clips we'd caught her eyeballing in my sister's room. All in all, the package cost a couple $100, but we all agreed that that was nothing if it meant making that little girl happy. Well, Maggie's birthday comes and goes, and we don't hear anything, which is a bit odd, as even though we'd told her it wasn't necessary. Aunt Ella tended to be the type of person who'd make some pretty big displays of gratitude. She had a staunch belief in sending handwritten thank you notes after every gift we gave her, so it was kind of weird that we hadn't heard anything from her. Weird enough that my mom decides to call and ask about it. They never received the package. My mom is beside herself. She contacts the post office, frantically asking if it had gotten lost or delayed or anything like that, as not only was it a pretty dang important package, but some of the food in there was fresh and would definitely have gone bad by now. The post office tells her that, no, they delivered it, which causes even more confusion. How is that possible? It turns out what had happened was that somehow it had gotten delivered to the wrong address. Instead of going to my aunt and cousin, the package got delivered to a family several streets over, in what I feel I must mention was a fairly affluent area. My mom got in contact with the family. To be honest, I'm not sure how she even managed that. But then again, if my mom's determined to do something, she's gonna do it, no matter what. The family consisted of a mother, a father, and their 2 young daughters, both of whom were roughly around Maggie's age. My mom tried to explain the mix-up to them, and here's where the entitlement came in. I wasn't actually present for this phone conversation, but my mom sure ranted about it later, so obviously this isn't going to be the exact dialogue, but it went something like this. "Oh yeah, that package. Well, we already ate all of the food out of it." My mom replied, "You didn't think it was a little odd that you got a package you didn't order?" "Well, we thought it was a little weird, but it was just snacks and kid stuff in there, so..." My mom was very annoyed. "And did you happen to see the giant happy birthday card addressed to my niece on top of all those snacks and kids stuff?" Karen, sounding pissy, "There was a card, yeah, but I just threw it out. Didn't think it was important." My mom, eager to resolve the situation before she loses her shit. "Look, ma'am, I'm not going to argue with you about the card, or the frankly insane fact that you decided to take in, open, and consume food from a package that clearly didn't belong to you, but I am going to ask you to please send all of the clothes, toys, and whatever else you didn't eat to the proper address." Karen was defensive. "What? Why on earth should we have to do that? Because it doesn't belong to you?" Yes it does. My daughters love this stuff. I'm not giving it away. But it's not yours. If your daughters like the stuff so much, then you can go ahead and buy them their own, but what you have now is a birthday gift for my niece who barely has anything, and you have no goddamn right to take it from her." Karen was shouting, "I didn't take anything. It was on my porch." My mom, now also shouting because fuck this woman. "It doesn't belong to you. You knew it didn't belong to you. Now for God's sake, just do the right thing and give it back." "I will do no such thing. Just get your stupid niece another package if it matters so much, and quit bothering me and my family about it. If you call again, I will consider it harassment. Goodbye." And with that, she hung up. It took my dad something like 3 hours to calm my mom down from the absolute seething state that call left her in. I don't know whether or not what Karen did was actually illegal, like the kind of thing we could have sued her for or not. But my mom came to the conclusion that this bitch wasn't worth making Maggie wait any longer, and so she put together another, pretty much identical package, and drove the couple of hours out there to deliver it herself. In the end, Maggie wasn't negatively impacted at all, and neither was Ella. Maggie was delighted to see her present, not seeming to care at all that it was past her birthday, and Ella apparently burst into tears and hugged my mom when she arrived, thanking her profusely for going so out of her way to do this. We weren't that negatively impacted either. Sure, we were on a bit of a tight budget for a while after that, but it was nothing really, and definitely worth it for the photo that Ella sent a few days later of an ecstatic-looking Maggie with sparkly purple butterfly clips in her messy brown hair, hugging her new stuffed unicorn to her chest, and smiling her gap-toothed smile at the camera like it was the happiest day of her life. Ella and Maggie's situation has been steadily improving as of late, and while they're still struggling a little, the last time I saw them, they'd both put on a decent amount of weight. Great, since they'd been way too skinny beforehand. And Maggie is apparently doing pretty well for herself at school. I guess all's well that ends well. I don't know if that is illegal, but I almost hope it is, and people like that get to pay it back double. This story just infuriates me. Well anyways, you should check out the video on screen where a Karen throws OP out his wheelchair because her legs are tired. Yeah, that's just crazy.